This is TechCrunch. Niteshift is an AI coding agent startup, and the company announced that it's raised a $7 million seed round led by Greylock's Jerry Chen. Now, that's a pretty modest amount by AI standards, but the startup, founded by two former early Datadog engineers, has attracted some big-name angels like Reid Hoffman and Datadog's Olivier Pommel and Alexis Ankur Goyal of Braintrust, and Misha Laskin of Reflection AI. Founded by Sajid Mahmood and Connor Brannigan, who helped grow Datadog from its early days to a multi-billion-dollar valuation, the company has entered the crowded AI coding space with a compelling idea. Why would any company trust its most sensitive assets, code that runs its products, directly to model makers like OpenAI and Anthropic, given that those companies are constantly killing startups and businesses by launching competing apps? Mahmood, who is CEO, likens it to Datadog's early growth when the monitoring company won e-commerce customers who refused to build on Amazon Web Services. It was a reasonable concern, given that Amazon was simultaneously putting many of those same retail stores out of business in what became known as the retail apocalypse. The AI equivalent, as Mahmood sees it, is already underway. Anthropic, OpenAI, and others are moving fast into vertical software markets, what some are calling the SaaSpocalypse. Mahmood said, "At Datadog, we saw this clearly. A big part of our multi-cloud business came from e-commerce businesses who did not want to run on Amazon, right? We are absolutely going to see the same dynamic as Anthropic goes to compete in legal and healthcare and finance and whatever else." The bet is that companies will increasingly seek infrastructure that separates the coding model from all the other orchestration needed to ensure AI-generated code is properly vetted and maintained, and that they'll want a vendor without a competing agenda. Now, to be clear, Niteshift is not replacing Claude Code or Codex, the two most popular coding agents. It argues that it reduces dependence on them. Niteshift's AI coding cloud will route between those models along with open-source options and others based on the needs of each project. Mahmood said being able to switch between GPT and cloud models is important. Everybody's worried about getting stepped on by these giants. That idea is what got Greylock's Chen to bite. He said, as the frontier labs move up the stack, there's an opportunity to offer customers an alternate path, unbundling their agents from the infrastructure they run on. Niteshift is building the platform that enables this for coding agents, letting customers invest deeply in their developer tooling without locking themselves into a single model or agent vendor. More than that, Niteshift is not selling tokens. It sells infrastructure, charging like a cloud provider with per-minute usage rates. Mahmood said, everybody else is selling labor replacement intelligence. We're selling software to agents, as opposed to humans, but we're still out here selling software. Even so, Niteshift is entering a crowded market of AI coding tools. Model independence is not a novel idea, and Niteshift's competitors have a massive head start. Now, they include Cursor, though it could soon be gobbled up by SpaceX, Cognition, which just raised $1 billion at a $26 billion valuation, Amazon Bedrock, and AI gateway platform OpenRouter, which just raised $113 million at a $1.3 billion valuation. And the list goes on. Now, Mahmood's answer to all of that is the founding team's depth. Mahmood and Brannigan didn't just study these problems, they've lived them, scaling Datadog through the exact growing pains that large engineering organizations now face with AI-generated code. Teams, he said, need to run, test, and verify software autonomously in their real production environments, and they need infrastructure built by people who've done it at scale. A new startup aims to reinvent how people discover their next favorite place to eat, and one day, perhaps more. Zest, a newly launched restaurant discovery app, uses a combination of transaction data and AI to make personalized restaurant recommendations based on where people actually go to eat, drink, or grab a coffee. Founded in November of 2024, Zest currently has $1.8 million in pre-seed funding from Alexis Ohanian at 776 and Steve Jang at Kindred Ventures. It has been in beta testing since nearly day one, expanding from friends and family to larger groups over time. Now, the app has launched to the public, allowing anyone to track their dining outings and get recommendations. In a matter of weeks, Zest has attracted over 100,000 visits post-launch and is growing. While a number of apps allow people to make dining wish lists or curate favorite spots, Zest's advantage is that its recommendations are based on real-world data. To use Zest, you'll link your credit card to the app and it will import all the restaurants you visited to create a personal dining map that others can follow. It does not track fast casual or fast food to reduce the clutter. As the app learns where you dine and what you like, it gets smarter, making personalized recommendations of what to try next. You can also follow friends or creator-curated profiles to get other suggestions of where to eat, either in your own city or when traveling, if you choose. Your credit card data is imported into Zest via the financial services company Plaid, trusted by banks and other fintech and budgeting apps. This allows the app to access your credit card transactions, import only those in the food and drink categories for its map, and ditch the rest. Now, the idea is not as crazy as it seems. Venmo also leverages people's desire to share where they shop and dine with others, turning spending into a social network of sorts. And in an earlier era of the web, a startup called Blippy infamously tried to turn a feed of your purchases into a recommendation network of sorts. Where Blippy and others like it went wrong is that they stopped at data sharing alone instead of building a network based on the data that improved their understanding of user interests over time. In addition, they were likely too early, as consumer sentiment towards data sharing has improved over time as they saw where it could add value in services like Apple's Find My Friends, SnapMap, and others. Zest co-founder Mario Gomez Hall said, "Our approach with Zest, by doing it via verified dining spend, we actually think that we surface more places that are actually interesting, instead of it being about social posturing and sharing that you went to this Michelin star restaurant or that. It's actually more about your regulars and the spots that are the hole in the wall, the burrito spot that you love and is dependable. And we surface that because we see the frequency and the spend." The idea behind Zest builds on his understanding of how social networks based on curation work, which Gomez Hall learned from his prior startup, Symbol, focused on music. Both companies were trying to connect people who have similar tastes, even if those people are not your real-world friends. Gomez Hall said that with Zest, there's a limited set of restaurants in any city. He's lucky enough to live in an area with tons of restaurants and new places opening, referring to San Francisco. But he said if you're in a smaller town, there might be fewer. So it's really about curation and finding the neighborhood haunts, the hidden gems. In addition to recommendations, Zest leverages over 80 million reviews pulled from various sources across the web to enhance its suggestions and understanding of the places people save. Gomez Hall says the list includes everything from high-end sources like the Michelin Dining Guide to sort of man-on-the-street recommendations like the kind of thing you'd see on Reddit. This month, Zest is launching a new feature that will let anyone write something in a free-form note about a place, like how to get a reservation, what dish to order, or other general thoughts. It's also poised to launch a Fresh Picks feature that will work something like Spotify's Discovery Weekly playlist, but for new restaurants to try throughout your city. Over time, the team at Zest wants to expand beyond restaurants to curate other types of city hotspots. Gomez Hall said that when we named the company, we named it Zest because it was a nod to food, but it wasn't 100% food. It's like a Zest for Life exploration. And I think longer term, we could totally see a world where we add shopping. That's all for now. For the latest in startup tech news, go to TechCrunch.com.